Hey guys, so yeah, talking about Eden Zero episode 13. Uh, and okay, obviously one of the first big things to talk about is that with this pretty much being the pretty much next core of the story we're headed into, of the anime basically, we basically got a new opening. And the song choice is a lot, compared to the first opening, the song choice is definitely a lot more somber and mellow, but appropriately so because as Xiaomei had not so eloquently said at the very beginning of the episode, things from here are gonna get far more sadistic, which yeah, was proven as hell to be correct in just the fucking like back half of the episode and whatnot. So yeah, may as well have a song to fit with that tone, but yeah, under it being sadistic, understatement of the fucking millennium, Xiaomei. Just saying, girl. Like, holy crap. Like, yeah, I honestly, even as a manga reader, I kind of forgot how just fucking sadistic that this particular arc could be. Like, if like just me, like Jamilov is just a taste of how like insanely sadistic like the villains can get from here. Now, as for the visuals and the opening, that I'll just be straight up honest with you guys. Any anime onlys who are watching this, yeah, the opening on a visual level had just pretty much thrown every single spoiler that the anime had like pretty much put at you for how this back half is gonna go. Like pretty much almost every like scene in the opening is pretty much something that is going to happen in the back half of this arc. But it does, but at the same time, in the way this opening visuals are structured, it does more or less confirm what a lot of us in the community believed, which is that the first season is in fact going to end on the Sun Jewel arc. Which, in that sense, it's good to know we're going to be jumping from one traumatic event to an entire arc's worth, right from the jump when we start season two. So, yeah, nice going on that one, anime. You're going to give us a whole shit ton of. You're gonna make our therapy bills. So yeah, JC staff, Eden Zero Anime, you pretty much are prepared in order to pay for everyone's therapy bills, right? I'm just saying, because trust me, everyone's gonna need therapy after the moment season two starts. Um, in fact, guys, kind of a warning to all anime onlys watching this review. The opening is fine. The opening is fine despite it giving away spoilers. But do not, I repeat, do not watch the ending. Watch the ending at all. Like anyone who's an anime only, stay away from that ending. Period, because that's pretty much where it gives away like the biggest spoiler ever. Like all the other spoilers in the opening, those are kind of fine. It doesn't really give away too much, just little scenes here and there. But the opening and the ending has it ends off on one of the most major spoilers ever of this season. Um, that said, though, we basically set up our next objective fairly quickly in the episode, which is that which is which is that which from save like from save her which save Herman's which is save Herman's subconscious by entering Digitalis and by proxy of the video game she dived into, which is called Rogue Fantasia, which yeah immediately 10 points to this episode for the premise of the arc alone, because as a World of Warcraft player, this concept scratches my MMO itch so much. And it's not even just from the world. It's not even just from like the world. Like the world itself is good, but all the little details like character creation and how players and Prince tend to over exaggerate the details and features of the character's design when they're creating them, compared to how we look in the real world. And even sometimes just straight up changing your gender, is shown with Weiss and Homura, or in Shiki's case, just giving himself a monster buff muscle form. Like it's little details like this that was touched upon in the episode that make me wonder if Mashima is an even bigger gamer geek, even bigger gamer geek than the man himself, Tagashi, or at the very least crazy enough to kind of rib on the gaming community through these subtle little details, because yeah, a lot of this, a lot of the stuff that was a lot of the little details that were explored in when the crew when finally enter the game, a lot of it was a little too on the nose. Like it's probably the most on the nose material, like for like the touch on in like a gaming, like in a gaming centered arc. Um, Now, as far as Digitalis itself and just the design of the planet, I do have to admit it is a marked improvement over the way the studio has been simplifying the looks of the planets compared to their manga counterparts up to this point. But if I were to nitpick, I do think that they could have done without filling in the core of the planet and make it look more solid. Because one thing that does make a planet like a planet like Digitalis unique is that it's a world purely comprised of data with no solid mass to it. So just by adding like a more solid form to it, it does kind of take away a little bit of the wonder. But again, I'm just impressed that they managed to at least get just finish they didn't get rid of like the data aspect of it. Um, and you know, something I found even funnier just from revisiting this arc already, just in this single episode, is that despite how much the episode embraces the goofy aspects of being of playing an MMORPG or just being trapped in a game that other anime have done countless times before, conceptually, it still feels like it's taking itself far more seriously, while at the same time still finding time in order to riff on a lot of the stupid overused tropes in such a scenario. For example, even though it doesn't take very long in order for the arc to kind of fall into the death game idea through the introduction of the French villain Jamilov. What makes it immediately more investing already is the idea that this isn't so much a game anymore as it is a simulation, where even the NPCs are more autonomous from their program and act more like living people. That by getting these more human moments, it makes their interactions with their main cast all the more real. Which, again, while the episode does in some ways riff on the stupidity of a trapped in a game death game scenario, it doesn't shy away from the harsh reality of what that concept actually means. What that concept means when no one when you're pretty much free to do whatever you want in the game and no one can stop you from doing as you please, and that even if the NPCs themselves physically are just pure data, emotionally the NPCs are about as in this scenario the NPCs are about as real as our main heroes, which it all makes it makes it all the more horrific when we see the first deaths in the game. And honestly, just from seeing the girl getting deleted by Jamilov was honestly, like, even though on the visual level it wasn't as detailed, just emotionally it was just as traumatic for me here as it was reading in the manga. And honestly, credit where it's due, despite being a manga reader and knowing how ridiculous the guy looks behind the avatar, the anime actually reminded me how much of a genuine threat, how much of a genuine threat, how much of a genuine threat Jamilov is, and even just on a general level, made me fear him way more than I did in the manga. Like, no offense to Mashima, but in the manga, despite how much of a threat he was built up as, he always just felt like a regular guy, a regular over the top villain, but who was hiding behind an avatar, a game avatar. But the anime weirdly just goes more, just goes, does more and just goes balls deep in showing just how much this is someone who should be feared just for how much of a pure psychotic nutjob he is. And it's not, and again, it's just in the little details of how they designed the character, I think, that really worked for me in this case compared to the manga. Now let's talk about the end of the episode when we see Hermit, and she suddenly calls, and she suddenly calls Ziggy out as a liar, saying even if machines have souls, human beings are incapable of having one, or hearts. Right, and when immediately from this one scene, it's more clearly shown that Hermit has a clear case of PTSD and just general emotional trauma by something that unfortunately I can't get into from here without giving away spoilers. But let's just say Hermit is kind of a very clear and solid foundational case for the large overarching theme within the series, which is that machines are just as capable of becoming more human as humans are just as capable of closing off their hearts and becoming as just as unfeeling as machines. And if next week's episode adapts as many chapters as I think it will, then you will fully understand the impact of what that means then. Like, let's just say even though you are going to even though you are going to see a lot of her being cold and unfeeling and just downright dismissive of Shiki despite him wanting to help her, there is a legitimate reason for it, and it's dark. It's very dark. Like, if this was the kind of if this was the kind of shit that it's the kind of shit that I think Mashima, I kind of understand as to what drove Mashima to just be more friendly with Fairy Tail. Now, with that said, let's talk about Homura, because if you hadn't noticed already, Homura had quite the wealth of knowledge in this episode to share. And, well, to put it bluntly, it's more than obvious that the person who's called Homura isn't Homura at all. And I think that is the one downside of the anime, is that at times it does make certain things a little more obvious than others, but luckily this certain thing isn't exactly like, it doesn't take long in order for the reveal to be known either. So yeah. But yeah guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and on Mr. Control. Be sure to hit the notification bell, the subscribe button, and just share it around, guys. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.